Hello everyone, and welcome to our new show, A New Way to Age. Today I'm sitting and speaking with Dr. Walter, Medical Director of Medical Aesthetics of New England, and today's topic we're going to do an overview about bioidentical hormone treatment. This will be a 6-series TV show regarding all aspects of bioidentical hormones. But today we're just going to have a few questions that most people would want to ask, what they would like to know about it. So what made you decide to get into bioidentical hormone treatment?
Well, medical aesthetics has been in Acton for 11 years now, and my partner and I started looking into, I was looking into new things and things we can add to the practice and help patients out with. And probably 7 years ago, we started looking into it, and we had done some training, and it was a small part of our practice. And then 2.5 years ago, we joined a company called Bioidentical. They're by far the biggest providers in the country, and now there's only 4 of us in all of New England, but I think there's at least 2,300 in the country, and most of them are in the south and along the southern corridor. And I think we do probably now between 20 and 25,000 pelletings a month. So when we joined them about 2.5 years ago, the business and the number of patients just really increased, as did our training and our knowledge base. I think it was a very good program. So now we're able to offer patient hormone replacement therapy, bioidentical hormone replacement. So it's really giving you back what you had, what you had when you were younger. It's
Sure.
not using synthetics or it's not using synthetic hormones, which have a lot of difficulties and side effects, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes, the specifics there.
Sure, so. Right. So just going back, I remember Suzanne Summers was all over the TV talking about bioidentical hormones because they were natural. Mm-hmm. And so the synthetic is the one that most women are afraid to do and are told really not to do to feel good about getting older and making themselves feel younger again. Mm-hmm. So what is the difference in the different methods? Bioidentical hormones, if we look at testosterone, the molecule, or estrogen or progesterone, bioidentical just means it's exactly what you already have in your body. So what we're really trying to do is optimize the levels, and as you get older, women hit menopause, so at a certain age, 45, 50, whatever, their estrogen goes down, their hormones, there's a significant change, and so they're much more aware of it. But it really happens with men, and with men it happens more gradually. Okay. And maybe from 42 to 43 you don't notice much difference, but from 45 to 50 to 60, or even younger, there could be a very significant change. And so we're just really replacing those hormones that we had when we were younger. The synthetic hormones they're the ones that the drug companies make because they can patent them. They can't patent testosterone or estrogen because we already have it in our body. Okay. And so that's what the advertising and a lot of the research is done. And I think the confusing thing is that a lot of even doctors, but a lot of lay press just kind of lumps all hormones in together. So when you hear that estrogen causes breast cancer or testosterone causes prostate cancer, they're really talking often about synthetic hormones, and I think that really does a disservice to the public. Where this all changed was probably about 15 years ago. There was a large study called the Women's Health Initiative, and it showed they actually stopped the study early because it showed more breast cancer, more strokes, more heart attacks, and everybody all of a sudden said, oh my God, we're giving women these hormones and we're killing them. But what a lot of people don't realize, and often physicians don't realize, is that they were using synthetic hormones. There's lots of literature. I mean, the hormone replacement's been around for thousands of years. I mean, the Chinese did it 3,000 years ago, not as exact as what we do now. But it's the pellet therapy, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, has been around for 75 years, since 1939. So this is not something new. And the research out there has just shown very consistently that they're very different, that the bioidentical hormones are very different than the synthetic hormones, and they don't have a lot of the bad side effects. Okay, so there's always a misconception that only women need bioidentical hormones or hormone therapy. Yes. Men also need it. And so what is the benefits that men and women see from the hormone therapy?
Well, I think it's a little bit, people know about it more now because of the TV advertising for low T, but the hormones are often used together, so there's some benefits that they'll have. I mean, the obvious things are libido and sex drive and sex interest. Women after menopause, sometimes it's painful and it's just not enjoyable anymore, so they kind of lose interest, but we can certainly give that interest back just by replacing what you had before menopause. Same thing with men. As the testosterone goes down, we're just replacing that up to a sort of a younger level. Bioidentical hormones, same thing that they have. And the other benefits are, there's some things that people often don't feel. It makes the heart healthier. It decreases the cholesterol, makes the HDL go up. It's actually protective for heart attacks and strokes, the bioidenticals. Same thing with breast cancer. Using the proper amount of estrogen and testosterone often will be protective against breast cancer rather than increasing the risk of it. And the research is just there. I mean, there's hundreds of studies that show that. This is not something that just, you know, one small study showed in 1942 or something like that. The other thing we haven't talked about is we also look at thyroid. And thyroid is really interesting, and we'll have a segment on that specifically because it can get pretty complicated because there's many hormones involved. But basically what we're doing with the thyroid is if your thyroid level is low or on the low side of normal, just bringing it up to the higher side of normal makes people feel completely different. The brain fog goes away. They have more energy during the day. The other things the hormones can do is women often get osteoporosis. Less common in men, but it actually reverses those bone changes without having to use synthetic hormones, and there's a lot of benefits to doing that.
Really?
Too.
Oh wow, that's so interesting. Huh. A lot of things we don't know that, you know, these hormones we need to
have
fine-tune them.
just had a lot of bad press, and some of it's pretty
that
pretty
is
appropriate.
true.
Yeah.
Right. So so I know that there's different types of hormone treatment, like creams. What do you do in your practice?
There's lots of different ways to give hormones. Some hormones, depending on the size of the molecule and how it's made, it can actually be taken as pills. Testosterone and estrogen cannot, but thyroid and progesterone can. If you take testosterone as a pill, it'll go into your stomach acid breaks it down, goes to the liver, and it's out of the system. So a lot of the different methods of giving it different hormones get into the bloodstream directly without going through the stomach and the liver first, and that way it doesn't get broken down. Synthetic hormones, birth control pills are synthetic. You know, if I give you estrogen and testosterone, it's not going to stop you from getting pregnant, and that's not what we're trying to do. Birth control pills can do that because that's some of the benefits of birth control pills, but then also you get the side effects from that too. But the birth control pills are pills. Again, it's not bioidentical hormones. Creams are very common. Patches are common. Shots. You know, sometimes the weightlifters, the guys that big and bulk up, they'll give themselves shots of steroids, and that's another reason people have a bad impression of it, because they often get problems with the liver and other issues and down the road. And the bioidentical hormones, they don't do that. But also, we're not trying to get you to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So what we do is we use pellets, and pellets for estrogen and testosterone. And what that is, it's basically a little bit of numbing in the upper part of the butt in here. We make a little tiny incision. It's virtually painless. It feels like a mosquito bite for the numbing part. You don't feel the pellets being put in. There's a special device that I insert them under the skin, and then it just gets taped up, and 3 days later you take the tape off. There's no stitches, there's no antibiotics you have to be on or anything like that. And the nice thing about that is for women, it usually lasts 3 to 4 months. It's a steady state of the testosterone and the estrogen in the bloodstream. For men, it's usually 5 to 6 months. So 2 times a year for men, 4 times a year, 3 times a year for women. You have the pellets put in. You don't have to worry about having it be put in every day. Some of the issues with the creams are depending where you put it in the body, the absorption, where people typically say to put it here in the belly. The absorption there is much less in other parts of the body. So if patients aren't told where to put it appropriately, they'll often get that much of a difference. And they say this stuff doesn't work. Well, you don't run into that at all with the pellets. We do blood testing beforehand to see where you are, and if you're premenopausal, you may not need estrogen at all. If your estrogen levels are good, we don't need to give you any extra. It's just afterwards when it goes down, then we'll give you
so most menopausal women, after they've gone through menopause, then would probably...
Yeah. The interesting thing is it's almost everybody. If you have hot flashes, 3 days are gone. It's amazing how fast that works.
Some other things 3 days, wow.
3 days. And some, I've had women come in for years, they've tried this and that, and nothing really works for them. It's just really giving you back what you lost when you had menopause.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast it works. And there's other things that can take sometimes weeks or even sometimes several months to get fully up where you want it.
Right, it really depends on, I guess, where your blood levels are.
Yeah, blood levels and there's some like the estrogen will build up the vaginal lining, and that doesn't happen in 3 days. That takes sometimes weeks or months to fully happen there. So some things are very quick, some things are more gradual. But we would expect that you feel completely different in 2 weeks from the pellet insertion.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we'll do blood test again
often in a month or 6 weeks afterwards, just to kind of see where the levels are. But just as we use a blood testing as a guide, they're not the end all and be all. It really depends on how you feel also. So different people respond to different levels.
Okay, and so in your practice, you're very hands-on with each client, and if they have any questions or concerns or issues, it's just a matter of calling the office. And
some things are easy, the staff can answer it, you know, it's a basic thing, and other things I'll call them back, talk to them, or Stephanie, the nurse.
Right, so you both do the pellet inserts.
Had the same training, we do the pellets in each other. So for many years.
So, well, that's good that you do it as well. That's awesome. So the best thing to do if people aren't familiar with this or medical aesthetics is just to call the office and make a consultation.
Yep, you can look at our website.
What's involved with the consultation?
So the consultation, just kind of explaining in detail what it is that we do.
Okay.
And often people, you know, well, they'll come in and they'll have some knowledge from, you know, from Dr. Google. And so we just kind of just clarify what it is that we do, and are there risks and benefits, and where the risks come from. And then if they want to go ahead with it, we'll give them a lab slip. They can go to their own doctor, they can go to Quest, have the labs done. And then they have a form that they fill out with all the medical history and the hormone history, family history, that case, their breast cancer in the family, that kind of thing. We look at all of that. So we need that information, we need the blood testing, and the next visit is usually two things happen. One is to go over all the blood testing and explain you're fine here, you need, you know, you benefit from having this added on, testosterone, thyroid, whatever. And then if people are ready, and often they'll do it the same day, they say, okay, I want to have the pellets put in today, so they'll put the pellets in.
Oh, okay.
We'll do blood testing again a little bit later on, a few weeks later, just to verify where they are, meet with them again, and just make sure that everything's, you know, going along well, and if we need to make some adjustments, we'll do it then. And often by the time people have one or two insertions, they're kind of at a steady state, and they know what the timing is, and they just come back. We'll do blood testing every 6 months or a year, depending on if there's any issues or if everything's stable.
Okay, good. And so you have a website, I'm sure, and they can go on the website and see, is there information regarding all of this?
You can actually even download the forms.
Okay.
And then the lab slips, usually they come to the office and we'll give them the lab slips. So we can draw the blood in the office, we send it out to Quest. So if people want to take it and have it done, if they live far away, they can have it done at home. And then the information's faxed to us, so the next time they come in, we'll have all the information available.
Okay, so our consultation, how long would that normally take, do you think?
It's really kind of variable. If somebody really doesn't know anything about hormones, it can take up to 45 minutes or so, maybe another 10 or 15 minutes if they choose to have the blood drawn at the office.
Okay.
So it might be an hour, and then the evaluation afterwards, going over the lab tests and having the pellets put in, and getting prescriptions, and there's a couple of supplements that we suggest also, that maybe takes an hour. If they just want to go over the evaluation alone, it's maybe half hour or so. So the first visit's always a little bit longer, because I kind of go over the side effects and go over, you know, instructions how to take care of it. Once people have done this a few times, they know all that stuff, so it's usually maybe a 15-minute visit.
Right. Sure.
Unless we chat.
Unless you chat, right. Do you have literature at the office that people can? Okay.
Yep. And a lot of that's online already, so they can find out more details. And then the BioT, there's because we're part of the BioT organization, they can go onto that website, and that'll give more detail also.
Okay, good. And you mentioned supplementation. I think we're going to get into that a different segment.
We'll have another.
Right, exactly. But that is an essential part of having the hormone therapy, correct?
Yeah, and in some places, you go to some place and they'll have walls and walls and walls of supplements. We have 5. And that we do. We'll go over all that in one of the following segments and go over that. We don't overwhelm people with supplements.
Sure.
So we really look at the ones that really specifically make the hormone procedure, the treatment better.
Are there any patients that could not or should not be doing bioidentical hormone replacement?
Most people can benefit from some, and maybe if even people who've had prostate cancer or breast cancer, those are very specific cases, and I go over it with them, and I'll often talk to their oncologist, and we'll have the discussion, and sometimes it's an okay and sometimes it's not.
Okay.
So I don't go behind other doctors' backs.
All right.
I work with
you
them.
Work in
Again, some
conjunction.
patients they would prefer their primary doctor not to even know about this. We respect their wishes, but I always encourage them, you know, if there's any concern that their primary doctor expressed, I'd be happy to talk to them.
Okay.
Sometimes
Oh,
they
good.
like to have that too. And let's say, you know, if you're 30 years old and you're having some issues with thyroid or whatever, and you don't need estrogen, we don't give you estrogen. Everything, it's very unique. We have 6 different doses of testosterone. We have 4 different doses of estrogen. Thyroid, there's over a dozen. So it's very individualized. And sometimes people benefit from all of it, sometimes some of it. And that's part of the blood testing, part of the discussion, part of the medical history, going over all that.
Okay, good. So it's individualized, which is
Very
great.
individualized,
We are all different, aren't we? So I'm sure that's the way the treatment has to be, of sure. So I'm very happy that we're doing this segment because I just recently started the hormone treatments myself. And just to give a little background, I'm 57 almost, and I went through menopause and, you know, had the hot flashes and everything that women are experiencing. And I started to get the fogginess in the brain, not remembering.
Where did I leave my car keys again?
Right, like, and having to write everything down. I think I had sticky notes everywhere sometimes. And, you know, just the libido kind of left me a little bit, and just the feeling of I'm getting older, which is scary enough for most women. We don't want to admit that at all. So I have to say that my levels were very low. So I benefited from it. Within 2 weeks, I started to feel like a new woman. The memory fog was lifted. I wasn't as tired. I wasn't exhausted all the time. And it's funny, now that I've gone through it for a while, you can definitely feel when those levels are going down, and you say to yourself, how did I ever live in this fog?
And why would you need to?
And why should
you don't need
we?
To, you don't, why would you want to?
Exactly.
I think the big thing is people just aren't aware of this, and they don't know, and they've been scared because hormones cause cancer, and they're bad.
Right.
I had a patient this morning, actually. She one of the hormones, and she had said she went to a pharmacist, and the pharmacist said, you know, that causes cancer. And I'm actually going to call the pharmacist. I know now where the pharmacy was.
Oh, good.
And try to talk to him and say, what you're saying is not true.
Sure.
It's just, you're just scaring the patients.
It's a scare tactic, right.
And one of the things we have that Biot provides with us is they have a white paper, and the white paper it just talks about breast cancer, it talks about prostate cancer, it talks about osteoporosis, bone density, it talks about hormones in general. It's a few pages, but it has 107 different references, and all those references are scientific articles that back up what it is that we do. So this is not, you know, I mean, Suzanne Summers was a very strong advocate for bioidentical hormones, and she really brought it you know, into the forefront and made people aware of it. But I think she gets poo-pooed because she's an actress. But
yes,
she's actually a very sharp person, and she does a good job. And she knows she's not a doctor. She doesn't, you know, she never doesn't preach that way. But I think people have really benefited from what she's done. She's done a very nice job of it.
Sure.
And so this is just kind of a continuation of what she started.
Good. And I believe she had cancer as well. So,
she had breast cancer.
And she still does the hormone treatment. So
yeah. And she's in her 70s now.
Exactly, right. So in keeping with what we were just speaking with, the hormone pellet therapy, we actually have a video of one of your patients. She's 71 years old. She's been doing bioidentical hormone therapy for about several years now, and we're going to cut to her next just to see what she feels, how she feels on bioidentical hormones.
And she's so enthusiastic about this. She's actually brought several friends and family in also, and they all. You'll see the video. She's a good advocate for it.
Wonderful.
I heard about medical aesthetics from a very good friend of mine who I have known for about 40 years. And when she suggests something, I take her serious because she has, she's a great judgment, and she's very avant-garde, so she's ahead of the curve. The procedure I've had for almost 2 years, next month will be my anniversary, are the Bioidentical Pellet Therapy insertion, which is done every 3 months, and it has given me an entire new lease on life. I'm 71, and it's actually a tiny little pellet the size of a kernel of rice. 1 estrogen and 1 testosterone. And you don't need sutures. What they do is they just put a steri strip, and the blood, as it circulates in your system, will pick up what it needs in terms of testosterone and estrogen. and it's a time released, so therefore it's very evenly dispersed, and that it just about depletes at the end of 3 or 4 months, and you go back for a redo. Well, I'll tell you how I felt before. I was 50 pounds heavier, energy low, never satisfied with what I was eating, couldn't really get the exercise results, but that was because I didn't have Dr. Walter here do my hormone panel, and I didn't have him do my your actual thyroid. Your thyroid is the thermostat of the body, and that's what tells the way it is, and that works in conjunction with your blood. And once I had the right reading, the right levels, the right panels, it just all clicked. One thing hinged on the other. My sister, Anne-Marie, who is 15 years younger, I recommended she have this procedure because she was suffering from Lyme's disease, and she was also 60 pounds overweight, no joie de vivre, no just dead, Dullsville. She came in, and 7 months ago, and right now she's lost over 60 pounds. She has none of the symptoms of Lyme's. I'm not sure what the connection could be, but because her thyroid has been balanced with the help of Dr. Walter, and the proper insertion of the right balance of estrogen and testosterone, that whole combination led to her successes. And we're both thrilled because she's 55 and I'm 71, and we're almost like teenagers. Actually, Dr. Walter said that I have the level of a 35-year-old woman in terms of the hormones, and that surprised me because I had a radical hysterectomy in the 90s. So I was like, well, here I have no female organs, how can it be? And he explains to me that everything is through the glands and through the blood and through other areas of your body. Well, what I had read about it years ago. There was a book written by the lady that was on Three's Company, Suzanne Summers, yes. And I had it back in the 90s, after I had my radical hysterectomy, I tried pellets. I tried creams, I tried patches, but they were synthetic. They were not the original in 1939 when this was started by a doctor. But by the 50s and the 60s, Big Pharma came in and stole it in terms of synthetic and got away from the natural, and none of those things worked. So I was excited to try the original, which my girlfriend said, this is different than the synthetic. So that's when I came in, and I am tickled pink because I feel like I felt when 40 years ago. Maybe the package doesn't look like that, but I feel young. I have a lot of energy. People can't keep up with me. Well, I think that you only have one temple, our body, and we best treat it the best we can. I think it's the mind, body, soul thing. It's that connection. And when you have one body, you better take good care of it. Then it will take good care of you. But there's a lot of study to find the right things that work for you. You just don't stumble. You know, I've been looking at these, a lot of options in terms of health for many years. Since the 70s, I was into nutrition, reading Prevention magazine. So I've always been interested in trying to be the best I can be for myself, because I can only be great for you if I'm great for me. Well, yes, I have explained to people because they've seen a difference in I'm different now. Now, maybe they don't like that different, but I like it because I think you become more of who you really are when you are balanced. But I think I've gone to 3 doctors, my internist, my cardiologist, and my gynecologist. All of them are like shocked that I do not look my age, I don't act it, my balance, everything, I'm quick, I'm sharp. It's got all to do with the testosterone because it incinerates fat. It gives you a clarity of thinking. Once you think clearly, you know how to make the right choices. You're on it. You're sharp. So they're all excited, but I'm working on them. But I think it really takes loving yourself and wanting to be the best you can to love other people. Because if you're not the best you can be, how can you be the best to everybody? And why not feel wonderful? We only have this shot once. This is not a dress rehearsal. We better grab it because this is it for this world. Maybe the next world, it's a different story. Medical Aesthetics and their staff, they're fantastic. They're always available to accommodate you. I've had some issues, physical issues, and Dr. Walter has got back to me instantly. The girls are so helpful and happy and beautiful, and I'm looking forward to having other procedures done at Medical Aesthetics. As you know, some face work and some body work and any of the other services that they offer. Well, people that are my age, I think that actually I'm in the best decade of my life. Life's getting better for me. I think you have to really go out on that limb. You've got to go out and you've got to try things. It's not like you're signing your life away. It's not like a car loan. If you want to feel good, you have to want to feel good. And you want to, as I said previously, if you feel good, you can do good. And you do good, it's really a double, I'm selfish because as I feel good, I share it. And then when I see other people having their happiness and health, I get back on that. So it's a great thing. It's a gift to share your gift of this wonderful place and what they're servicing people with.
I just want to say thank you, Dr. Walter, for taking time today to sit with us and talk about medical aesthetics.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if people want to learn more or contact you, what's the best way?
You can either call us at 978-263-1406. That's our office phone number, or Medical Aesthetics, AES, NE for New England, medicalaestheticsne.com is our website.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we'll see you in the next segment.
See you the next segment.
Thank you.